guys and girls. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today's chat session on Lockdown Open Up is about something a little bit different to what we've been speaking about before, although it does tie into our theme this week, which is positive transformation. We've been trying to add a little bit of upliftment and positivity to the group, and are finding ways to try and contribute as many sort of solution-driven content and posts towards getting people's heads around transformation as we start gearing ourselves towards life after lockdown, whenever that may be. So one aspect of this is through health, and with a limited amount of exercise per day, I think some of us might have started reevaluating our eating habits, which I don't know about everyone else, but I certainly fell back a little bit in terms of my routine, which I had spent a fair amount of time trying to get right before lockdown, and then lockdown sort of happened and swept everything from beneath our feet. And yeah, anyway, we won't go into too much detail. We'll wait until our guest speaker comes onto this video. But yeah, so our speaker is a nutritional therapist, food blogger, and author of the Yoga Kitchen, 100 Superfood Recipes, and the Mandala Kitchen. So I think she has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to eating healthy, but also in light of the coronavirus, which experts say is, I think, targeting those who are most vulnerable with weakened immune systems. So it's really important that, obviously, I think smart, that we all best do what we can to keep our immune system super strong by eating healthy. And without further ado, I think we will bring on Marlien Wright. And I'm super excited to chat to her. Marlien has been a big support of the group. And after we introduce her officially the Lockdown Open Up way, which is how we do things, through video interviews, and then followed by a group chat session, which will be available to our members this Saturday, which we can't wait for. Marlien will then be a part of our resident coaches, in this case as a nutrition coach for Lockdown Open Up. So we're really, really excited. So on that note, let's get Marlien on. Yay!
Yeah. Hi, Kira.
How's it?
Can you see me?
Yes.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for asking me to come on and chat. It's really exciting. I love being here.
Thanks so much for agreeing. It's great to have you. Hi, guys. Sorry, just to apologize for the little white icon man at the bottom center of the screen. We're still getting used to Zoom, but it'll go away soon when Nikki, our next guest, comes on. Okay, go back to the video now. Bye. How have you been surviving lockdown?
It's actually been surprisingly like a peaceful time and a time of reflection. And I've been very lucky that, I haven't had too much work to deal with, which is really worrying on the one side. But on the other side, it's good because, obviously we're homeschooling. I have 2 little children. And I have actually just really sort of dived into the kitchen deeply and cooked, a lot, and tried to really just, create really lovely and healthy meals, which is what I like to do. But, of course, not everybody's passion is cooking. My passion is cooking. So for me, it's been a lovely time of, spending time with my children and also not rushing around, which has been wonderful. But I'm sure that everybody else can relate to this feeling of that nagging worry that you have about, what is on the other side. And yeah, so it's sort of a bittersweet time, but I also think it's a really good time for people to start becoming more aware of their patterns and changing them, hopefully, for the better in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was chatting to you on the phone the other day, we were saying how if we are looking at it positively, the coronavirus and life in lockdown has put a magnifying glass on everything. And for me now, I've started, I've given up on resisting and fighting the frustrations of everything, and trying to look positively at things and looking at areas in my life where I can improve or change on things, because as frustrating or stressful as things may be, it's out of our control. So I guess the best we can do is to, try and make changes where we can. And before lockdown, I'd started a sort of transformation of my own as far as health goes. And it had taken me a long time to develop healthy eating habits and healthy routines. Most of my life, I'd been, to be very honest, quite an unhealthy person. I'd never gotten my eating and all that right. I think, we grew up with Coca-Cola and fizzy drinks next to our bed at night. So it's only in the last sort of 2 or 3 years that I developed healthier eating habits and really started enjoying the journey of taking care of my body and putting good things into my body. And my sister, Nikki Little, who is in the waiting room, and I'm going to bring her on now. She has been a huge inspiration to me as part of that. She started the whole process and I followed in her footsteps. She dragged my butt up a mountain for the first time this time last year, along with her guidance of healthy eating. And she's a big fan of nutritional lifestyle. So she was super excited to join in on this chat. So hi, Nix.
Hi. Oh, thanks for the intro.
She's also now officially a team member of Lockdown Open Up, because last night we got to over 100 members on the platform, and I've just looked now, there's 143 members, and for a private Facebook group, I think that's quite a achievement. And I know, Marlien, you're a big part of that. And with your network and stuff, we've had huge support from you, so thanks. But with that, I've needed extra help with some social media, so Nix is coming on board to help me with that, and Rochelle and Taryn. So we're really excited. Next, meet Marlien. Marlien, meet
Hello.
I've heard much about you. Lovely to finally meet you. Yeah.
Yes, you too. Awesome. Thanks.
Marlien, the Yoga Kitchen book. What inspired you to write this book, and combining yoga and nutrition? Chat to us about that.
So I happen to be I actually worked in fashion way before any of the books happened, and it was obviously a very stressful kind of shallow type of life, where you're really just rushing from one thing to the next, and there's never any time to reflect or actually be healthy. I remember sitting in a bar drinking a huge glass of red wine and smoking a cigarette. This was in my early 20s, and looking across the road and just feeling desperate to get out of this rat race where you start at 7 and at 1 o'clock in the morning you wake up and think, oh, I forgot to do this and I forgot to do that, because fashion is like always, it was fashionable yesterday and you should have gotten it into the shop yesterday. So it's like incredibly stressful. And I used to find so much solace and peace in a Pilates practice. This is way before I started, doing yoga. And I found like just that mind-body connection that I got from Pilates really helped to deal with stress, and just also kind of inspired me to do other things to be healthier. And I sat with my glass of wine and my cigarette, and I looked across the road, and there was this Pilates studio. And suddenly the thought occurred that I should do a teacher training, just as a sideline, just to kind of take my mind off work. And so I did. And of course, then eventually that led me to yoga. And then when I came back to South Africa, I was living in England at the time. I decided to just sort of start a completely new career, and I opened a yoga and a Pilates studio. So at that stage, I'd already now become a yoga and a Pilates teacher. And when I did my yoga teacher training, it really highlighted a vegetarian lifestyle, like a plant-based lifestyle. Many yogis follow a plant-based lifestyle, which was entirely new to me. I mean, I'm an Afrikaans girl with both my folks having come from farms. There was meat and potato and rice on the plate every night at supper. So for me, it was like a very, new experience to, start trying out a vegetarian diet or a more plant-based diet. And I found that it really worked for me. I never became a vegetarian, but I just sort of went over to mostly plant-based, and I just became very interested in how can I create meals where I don't even miss the meat at all. And so these recipes that I created became very handy when I then moved to a farm and gave up my yoga studio for a man, of course. And I thought, what should I do with my time here? I can't open a yoga studio or a Pilates studio. It's too far from town, so I'll do yoga retreats. And then I started cooking all these plant-based recipes, and I decided to keep it entirely plant-based. Whatever I did, whether it was a 2-day or a 5-day retreat, I kept it plant-based because I wanted to show the participants that actually you can have a very satisfying meal. You don't need to feel hungry, and you can actually have a very nutritionally balanced lifestyle just eating vegetarian food or plant-based food. And and so it of course the recipes seemed to go down very well, and people started saying, will you send me some of your recipes? And I thought, yeah, great, maybe I should start a blog. And I started the blog to kind of just put them out there, and then people could just go and find them on the blog. And then the blog turned into a book. And during that time, just before the blog became a book, I've always been interested in nutrition. I think I unofficially studied nutrition my whole entire, from about the age of 25 up until that stage, for about a decade. I was just like devouring books about it and picking people's brains. And I thought, I'd love to do a nutritional course to become a little bit more sort of well read on the subject. And I did an online course at the time. And then when I wrote the book, I think what sort of makes the book a bit different is that it's very much based on what ingredients I'm using, what are the nutritional benefits of those ingredients in the recipe. And also that the recipes are very simple. They're my kind of recipes. So it's not like gourmet cordon bleu cooking. It's simple recipes, and that's what I wanted to kind of put out there, because I think a lot of people feel intimidated by eating a more plant-based diet, and the book isn't entirely plant-based either. There are some fish and meat recipes, but it was just about saying, it's simple and it's easy, and this is why, here are the benefits of all these lovely plant-based ingredients that you can get from eating a wider variety of food, not just the meat and normal 2 veg or whatever.
So on that note, with and especially in lockdown, often when I look at these beautiful cookbooks and these amazing recipes, and they look great when you see the pictures, and then you open up the link or whatever to look at the ingredients, and it's a very long list of very complicated, fancy, exotic things that I don't think are on the list of level 4, things that we're allowed to buy or that are available on the essentials items. So in your book, and I must confess that I haven't gone through all the recipes yet, and we are going to post a link to how everyone can get hold of your recipes and your book online. Are your recipes accessible, and are they recipes that we can be using in lockdown, which we want to because we want to boost our immune systems? How do we adapt if they aren't? And also for other recipes that people want to be using now, how do we supplement ingredients during lockdown to make it lockdown friendly?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I think a lot of my recipes are definitely extremely accessible, or most of them, because here and there you'll find something with sumac in it, which not everybody will
What
probably
is
have.
sumac?
Spice or sumac is a lovely spice that has a sort of a Middle Eastern, gives a Middle Eastern flavor. I think Yotam Ottolenghi kind of introduced sumac to the world, but you can buy it in Woolies these days. It is actually quite easily available, and I think most people will find that the recipes are easy because I love cooking, but I don't do terribly complex dishes with lots of different things going on at the same time. I get awfully nervous. In fact, I'll probably have a meltdown if there's more than 5 or 6 things that you've got to navigate, and the timing has got to be just so, and that sort of thing really freaks me out. So I do like simple cooking. Yeah, rustic
my kind of thing. Talking or referring to nutrition. So Nikki contributed a really nice piece to the platform last week, and she titled it "How I Stay Coronavirus," or "How I Try to Stay Coronavirus Positive." And it's all about how she, the things that she tries to do in order to reduce stress levels, to combat her hyperanxiety, and also her husband has Crohn's disease, so diet plays a really important part, but also to reduce his stress levels, because then he has a flare-up. I mean, Nikki will probably correct me, I might be wrong here, but I think that the medication that he's on suppresses the immune system. So Nix, as the supporting wife that she is, tries to help as best she can with, including nutrient rich recipes and meals and things. So I'm going to now hand over the conversation to Nikki, who has some questions for you.
Marlene, I just from my side, for people who have compromised immune systems, do you have tips for foods to look out for that they should be aware of, either to boost their immune system, as well as perhaps lowering their stress and anxiety, which might cause flare-ups? Because I find that for me is my biggest concern with my husband's Crohn's, is trying to reduce the factors of causing a flare-up for him, and that's stress. That's all stress related. Mm-hmm. And whether diet itself plays a factor in that, maybe you could, if you could answer to that. But when he has an actual flare-up, then diet it's all about his diet, and he has to. He can only eat liquids, and then I struggle to get much nutrients into him. If you have any comments on that as well. So basically, people with compromised immune systems, what should they be looking out for now? And then, nutrients for that.
Yeah. So Crohn is a very difficult disease to live with, because almost everything can be irritating, and you've got to be so careful about the foods that you do eat. As far as stress reducing foods go, I would say it's more about cutting out than foods that you can really bring in. Things like a really overripe banana. There are some studies that show that it can actually have a sort of relaxing effect on you, on the nervous system. There's some active ingredients in there, but I would definitely focus rather on cutting out certain things. And I'm sure that he knows that he shouldn't be eating gluten, and dairy is probably not a good idea either, or seed, everything needs to be de-seeded.
Those are all his triggers.
Shame.
Yeah,
There's
no,
times you want to go out and, somebody's made a delicious meal, or you're out
yeah,
at a work function, and that's the difficult times. I think coffee is also something that we need to, that
yeah,
has to really, you've got to be careful, because the anxiety that coffee can sort of
exactly.
create, and something like a simple meditation practice, and this has got nothing to do with nutrition, but it is so powerful to help you kind of just set the tone for the day, and to get rid of unnecessary monkey chatter that we're worried and we keep sort of regurgitating all these like fears and worries, and just to kind of enter the day in that way is a really powerful way to deal with stress.
One was, okay, so at least with Crohn's, I don't know about other diseases and that, but with probiotics, I know that's one of the biggest considering factors. In the last major flare-up, I tried kombucha for my husband, and it might have just been, towards the end of the flare-up, but he went into remission. And a lot of studies seem to say that kombucha, water kefir, and really good yogurts, although yogurt's somewhat skeptical, but probiotics seem to be really, really good for Crohn's disease. So I don't know about other diseases and illnesses for compromised immune systems. So maybe if that's something people should consider in this time, if they're worried about nutrition. And then the other point I wanted to ask about was vitamin D. There's a lot of articles going around saying that to boost immunity, vitamin D has been shown, and also, I mean, Grant's doctor gave him a prescription to get a vitamin D injection because it's really good to boost immunity in that. So in terms of nutrition, I mean, obviously you can catch some sunlight, but we're going into winter now. So how can we do that with our diet? So that was my other question.
So vitamin D is a toughie. We've always been told that, we'll start with vitamin D, that, milk or dairy products is rich in vitamin D, but we don't necessarily want to have cow's milk, because it's not the best thing for us. It's like, it's for a baby cow. And, and we're the only mammals on the planet that has another mammal's milk. It is just like bizarre when you start thinking about it. And then this baby cow comes out who drinks from its mother, but it's huge. It can already walk within hours of being born, and the lactose, the casein or the protein in that milk is obviously suited to that sort of creature. And then we come up with these tiny little helpless creatures, and we can't actually cope with that casein. It's just too big. And then, of course, on top of that, we pasteurize it. So we boil it, and that makes it even harder to digest. And then we take all the enzymes out of it with that. So, it's just not good for us to have pasteurized dairy. But in a yogurt form, that would be the best way to have it, I would say. A really good brand, grass-fed, full cream, as little tampered with as possible, and fermented with real probiotics in there. That's a good choice. But I would start off by saying I would rather suggest that he moves over to sort of a goat's milk yogurt, which sounds uber scary, and it's going to be not your thing, because goat's milk can be like quite strong. But I find that there's a lot of new brands available at like spas and select supermarkets which have a very mild taste. It really depends on whether there's a billy goat in the mix or not. Apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there is like really lovely, and even my 7-year-old really gravitates towards these. I don't know if I should. Shall I just say the brand? The Oxenberg yogurt drinks that are beautifully, like, naturally fermented, and they're made from goat's milk, and they are delicious, and they do like a vanilla. It's very low in sugar. So that is a great probiotic choice. Then secondly, I would go for a good grass-fed cow's milk yogurt, with a bit of honey and maybe some banana sliced in there, something that's easy to digest for him. And then I would also say fermented veggies is a great choice for Crohn's. Just a couple of tablespoons, along with the kefir water and the kombucha. Our immunity is actually seated in our gut. About 70% of our immunity is in our gut. So our good bacteria has to be super diverse. And the more diverse your bacteria or microbiome community is, the more different types of bacteria you have, the better your chances of a good immunity. So, which means somebody with Crohn's who can't really eat a lot of raw veggies and who struggles to eat vegetables or anything with fiber as it is, needs to then focus on those, fermented foods. If you are going to buy probiotics, if you just want to take a supplement, there are some amazing supplements on the market, but always make sure that you buy your probiotics from the fridge. I just think that it's a safer way of making sure they're actually live probiotics. The ones on the shelf often, I don't know. I feel like the price difference is not that big. And the other tip I would like to tell or give is to always change probiotics. So if you're going to buy a supplement, this month buy, the Real Thing, which is an amazing live probiotic that you will find in the fridge. And next month, buy a different brand, because you want to keep changing that spectrum. You want to keep changing and adding new bacteria, and they all have their own sort of little variety of bacteria in them. So just try and really think about that wide spectrum of bacteria, that gut garden that you want. So vitamin D is an amazing immune booster. It's super important to take a vitamin D supplement. You get some really great ones. Unfortunately, the South African brands are not so hot yet I love supporting South African brands. So, you're probably going to be looking at either Solgar or I think Solar actually has a pretty good vitamin D3 supplement. And making sure you take you start with 2,000 IUs a day, and then you can even build that up to 6,000 IUs a day. Some people say that you cannot have enough vitamin D in a supplement. You cannot over supplement. But I always like to err on the side of caution and maybe also try and get a bit of natural sunlight if it is available in winter. Maybe just going for a little walk and or sitting with your legs by the window in the sun. Why not? This
one is for parents. With kids in lockdown, because Taryn, our other team member who wanted to be here tonight, but her child is driving her mad, and I know that she would want to know this, but how can we make healthy immune boosting foods more exciting for children?
So, kids are a toughie, and I think that the thing that we need to realize is that it takes a long time for children's palates to develop, and the best thing to do is just to keep trying. Do not give up. Don't eventually say, well, he'll just eat, don't worry about trying to give him that because he'll just eat fish fingers and chips. That's his thing, You need to keep trying every single day and put those veggies and those things that you want them to eat on their plate. I find that also often when someone else gives the healthy food, if it's not mom or dad, which is obviously impossible in lockdown, but say granny can come over, or say there is a family member that doesn't usually give the food, like a sister or a brother, and they have helped prepare it for the child that doesn't like to eat a specific thing or doesn't like vegetables, it often helps that either somebody else has given it to them or that they themselves have prepared it. And lockdown is also a great time to start a veggie garden, even if it's just putting some seeds for tomatoes and salad, getting some seedlings or whatever, and just having some things that they can see, like baby tomatoes that they can pick in the garden and eat them.
When we all stockpiled before lockdown, I didn't know what was going to happen in lockdown. And there were some sort of weird conspiracy theories that maybe sugar and all the nice things were also going to get taken away from us. So we went and bought, I mean, I went and Googled like from like the other countries that had done lockdown already before us, because none of us have done this before. We didn't know what to expect. And some of the advice was, get nice things because you're going to miss that. No.
Get all the long life stuff.
Yeah, and like chocolates and whatever, because yes, okay, we want to be healthy, but you are going to miss like a biscuit and whatever. So, but we couldn't control ourselves and we stockpiled on those too. But then into like a week, we were all just chowing that like in the week. And then, yeah, so what that was going to be my one question was that, as far as getting our immune systems in tip-top shape and all that being one thing, it's really hard to not just go from lounge or the office desk into pantry and cupboard on like an hourly basis, and again disrupting whatever our healthy routine was before, that some of us worked really hard for many years to get to, and now this has happened and disrupted everything. Yeah. So how, because we're trying to fix our problems with the wrong food, how would I don't know, do you have any like tips or advice for developing a healthy routine? And yeah, because it's, I don't know, I struggle because that's what I did first. Now I've kind of gone the other way because I've now escaped to work mentality where I fill my head with work and being busy, and now I'm not eating enough. Like I'm hardly eating. I'm like fasting all day, and that's not good either. So how do we get this right?
I think a good routine, humans do so well with a bit of routine, so does children. And in lockdown, we need a routine. We need a system, work out a system that works for you and whoever you're in lockdown with. If there's kids, you need to obviously consider them, and then find a way that there's this solid routine that's not entirely sort of rigid, but that that's mostly what you do. And say, for example, you get up in the morning and you like to start your day with coffee, but then add a little healthy thing in front of that. So a day with some hot water that's cool to drinking temperature with half a lemon squeezed in it, and say to yourself, I'm going to have my coffee, but first I'm going to have this hot water for 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, you sit down and you do a little bit of meditation, even if it's 5 minutes, and you can always say, well, it's just 5 minutes. And then once you've done that, then, maybe do a bit of yoga, or now that we've got this restriction in terms of, exercise time outside, then do your exercise and have your coffee as a reward, maybe before the exercise, and then come back and maybe have another coffee if you feel like it, if you can manage that much coffee. And then, maybe as an adult, then it's time to have a brunch instead of, breakfast, because I think often having and we're sitting a lot and we just have this short window of activity where we're actually moving, we probably don't need as many calories to eat slowly. Like, think about the Ayurvedic way of eating, where you're really chewing and chewing, almost like, and it's gross, grosses me out when I think about it, but it's so beneficial for, actually, this is something, Nikki, that your husband can try. Is the slow, mindful eating, and the chewing has got to happen for a long time. They say turn the food into soup in your mouth.
Yeah, he does that.
I know, it's gross. A profound effect on your digestive system, but I think also stress levels. We often eating on the go and running. And
he's nodding his head now.
So Ayurvedic eating. Tell him to Google Ayurvedic eating. They do some really weird stuff in Ayurveda, which is like sort of the nutrition side of yoga.
Making soup out of the food in your mouth. What's it called?
Yeah.
Ayurveda.
So what's the word called? What do you call it? What's the word called? What kind of eating?
Ayurvedic eating, or Ayurveda.
So this and more is open for discussion in our upcoming group chat with Marlien that we are opening up to our group members this Saturday. 13th of, no, today is the 14th. So it's the 16th of May. This Saturday at 7:00 p.m. And we're super excited about that because I think based on just this conversation, there's a lot to ask, especially in lockdown, for everyone at home, especially parents and those with compromised immune systems, which maybe is a lot of us by now with everything. We've been indoors for I don't know how long, and we only get 3 hours a day of exercise, and hopefully that will change. But yeah. So if you would like to join that, you do need to be a member of the Lockdown Open Up Facebook group. So go do that. And we will send you details for that if you sign up on the event list for that. If anyone would like to get in touch with Marlien for one-on-one advice, you can go to her Facebook page, which is the it's the Yoga Kitchen Nutrients. Remind me again, please.
Nutrition and Retreats.
That one, but there's a link at the bottom here, so you can click on that and go to that. And she's also on our Facebook page. If you want to ask us questions and we'll connect you to her, you can inbox us, or you can email us at lockdownopenupsa@gmail.com. You can email Marlien at retreat@yogakitchen.co.za if you want to make contact with her. But yeah, otherwise you can join our chat group, our private chat group, on Saturday, where you can ask her more questions there. Can't wait. Super excited. Marlien, thanks so much for joining us tonight. It was really cool. Sure, we've got a lot covered, I think. Not enough.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was lovely chatting. I look forward to Saturday.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us as well, Nix. New group member.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it was awesome. There's a lot. And I look forward to Saturday.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Well, guys, have a nice evening.
Cool. Yeah, cheers.
Bye.
Bye.